The alarm systems across the Galactic Council headquarters screamed warnings into the night cycle. Commander Zealoth's 4 eyes snapped open as emergency lights bathed his sleeping chamber in red. He rolled from his rest pod and grabbed his communicator with one of his 6 limbs. "Report," he demanded, his voice rough from interrupted sleep. "Sir, we have a situation in Sector 7, the night officer replied, fear evident in her trembling voice. Something appeared in the Forbidden Zone. Zealoth felt his blood run cold. The Forbidden Zone. For 3,000 years, that region of space had been marked as absolute death. No ship that entered ever returned. No probe lasted more than moments. The radiation levels alone could melt through standard shielding like water through paper. Worse things lurked there, too. Things the ancient species refused to discuss. "What do you mean something appeared?" Zealoth rushed toward the command center, his multiple legs carrying him swiftly through the corridors. "A ship, Commander. It just showed up on our sensors 20 minutes ago. One moment the zone was empty. The next moment there was a vessel sitting right in the middle of the most dangerous sector." Zealoth burst into the command center where dozens of operators from various species worked frantically at their stations. The main viewing screen showed the sensor readings. There, displayed in impossible clarity, sat a vessel unlike anything in the Council database. "Run full scans," Zealoth ordered. "Get me identification, origin, anything." The operators worked quickly. Results started appearing on secondary screens. The ship was roughly 200 meters long, built with strange angular designs. The hull appeared to be composed of unknown alloys. Most shocking of all, the radiation that should have destroyed it within seconds seemed to have no effect whatsoever. "Commander," one of the analysts called out, "we are detecting life signs aboard." "Impossible," Zealoth whispered. "Nothing lives in that zone. Run the scan again." "Already done, sir. 3 times. There are definitely life forms aboard that vessel. Approximately 40 individuals based on heat signatures." Zealoth moved closer to the screen, studying the mysterious ship. "Can we establish communication?" "We can try, but sir, you know the protocols. The Forbidden Zone has been off limits since before most of our civilizations achieved spaceflight. If something is in there, maybe it should stay in there." Zealoth understood the fear. Every child in Council space grew up hearing warnings about the zone. Ancient automated defense systems that still functioned after millions of years. Spatial anomalies that could tear a ship apart. Radiation storms that could cook crew members in their seats. And something else. Something the oldest species only whispered about in private. "Send a priority alert to all Council members," Zealoth said finally. "They need to see this. And somebody find out what that ship is." The communications officer worked at her station, then looked up with confusion. "Sir, I am picking up automatic identification signals from the vessel. They appear to be using very basic communication protocols, almost primitive." "What does it say?" "The ship identifies itself as the UHSV Magellan. Registration shows it belongs to something called the United Human Space Command." "Humans?" Zealoth searched his memory. The name sounded familiar, but he could not place it. "Are they in the database?" Another operator pulled up records. "Yes, sir, humans. They are a very new species. They only achieved faster than light travel about 50 years ago. Their territory is in Sector 42, nowhere near the Forbidden Zone. They have been classified as Level 2 civilization, still primitive by Council standards. Limited technology, aggressive tendencies, but not considered a threat." "Then what is one of their ships doing in the Forbidden Zone?" Zealoth demanded. "It would take months to travel here from their space, and they definitely do not have the technology to survive that environment." "Unknown, Commander. But according to these readings, the ship has been there for less than an hour. It appeared suddenly with no trace of conventional travel." Zealoth felt a chill run through his body. Ships did not simply appear. They traveled through space, leaving trails and signatures, unless... Could they have developed jump technology? He asked quietly. The room fell silent. Jump technology was theoretical, discussed in scientific circles but never successfully implemented. The ability to move instantly from one point to another without crossing the space between. If humans had somehow achieved this, it would change everything. "We need answers," Zealoth said. "Prepare a remote probe. Make it fast and heavily shielded. I want a closer look at that ship." "Sir, with respect, should we not wait for Council approval before approaching the zone?" Zealoth stared at the screen. At the ship that should not exist sitting in space where nothing should survive. By the time the Council meets and debates and forms committees, Whatever answers are there might be gone. We observe now. We can explain later. Orders were given. The probe was prepared and launched. It would take 30 minutes to reach the edge of the zone. Then another 20 to approach the human ship if the radiation did not destroy it first. Zealith watched the countdown timer and wondered what he was about to discover. Humans were supposed to be primitive. Their ships were basic. Their weapons were simple. Their understanding of advanced physics was limited at best. So how had they accomplished the impossible? And more importantly, what else could they do that the galaxy did not know about? The probe entered the forbidden zone. Radiation alarms screamed. The shielding held barely. The probe pushed deeper. Cameras focused on the strange human vessel that sat peacefully in the most dangerous region of known space, as if it belonged there. As if the death surrounding it was nothing at all. The probe's cameras transmitted images back to the command center, and Zealith could hardly believe what he saw. The human ship appeared undamaged. No scorch marks from radiation. No signs of degradation or stress. The hull gleamed under the harsh light of the zone's deadly stars as if it had just left a construction dock. "Magnify Section 4, Zealith ordered. The image zoomed in on the ship's hull. Strange symbols were painted along the side, along with what appeared to be a flag showing stars and stripes in red, white, and blue colors. "Those are human markings," one of the analysts confirmed. "We have seen similar designs in the limited contact reports. That flag represents one of their major nation-states from their home world. Can we establish communication with them yet?" "Working on it, Commander. Their communication systems are active, but seem to be on different frequencies than standard Council protocols. We are attempting to bridge the gap." Suddenly a voice crackled through the speakers. It was rough and used sounds that the translation matrix struggled to process at first. "Unknown vessel. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Human Space Command ship Magellan. We read you trying to make contact. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. We are on a peaceful research mission." Zealith grabbed the communicator. "Captain Chen, this is Commander Zealith of the Galactic Council Security Force. You are in an extremely dangerous area. How did you arrive at this location?" There was a pause, then the human captain responded. "Galactic Council? We are not familiar with this organization. As for our location, we initiated our experimental jump drive approximately 47 minutes ago. Our target coordinates were a nebula about 6 light-years from Earth. Something went wrong. Our systems show we overshot by a significant margin." "Jump drive," Zealith repeated, his fears confirmed. "Captain Chen, you need to understand what you have stumbled into. This region is known as the Forbidden Zone. It has been quarantined for thousands of years. The radiation levels alone should have destroyed your ship instantly." Another pause. "Commander, our sensors are reading elevated radiation, but nothing our shielding cannot handle. Are your ships not capable of withstanding this environment?" Zealith exchanged glances with his officers. "Not capable? The best Council ships would last perhaps 10 minutes in that radiation, before critical systems failed. Captain, no known species has shielding that can protect against those levels for extended periods." "What technology are you using?" "Standard magnetic deflection grids combined with layered ceramic composite armor. It is nothing special really, just basic radiation protection. We use similar systems for our deep space mining operations near pulsars. Nothing special, basic protection." Zealith felt his world shifting. The humans thought this was ordinary technology. "Captain Chen, I must insist you leave this area immediately. There are dangers here beyond radiation. Ancient defense systems that activate against intruders. Spatial anomalies. Other threats we do not fully understand." "Understood, Commander. We would be happy to depart, but we have a problem. Our jump drive needs several hours to recharge before we can use it again. Standard propulsion would take us weeks to reach safe space based on your description of this zone's size. Can you provide assistance?" Before Zealith could answer, alarms blared again. "Commander," an operator called out urgently, "we are detecting power fluctuations in grid sector 7-4. The old systems are waking up." Zealith felt his blood freeze. The defense systems. Automated weapons left behind by a long-dead civilization, still functional after millions of years. They activated whenever they detected unauthorized vessels in the zone. "Captain Chen, you need to prepare for combat. Ancient weapons are about to target your position." "Combat? Commander, we are a research vessel, not a warship. Our weapons are minimal. Then you need to run. Use whatever propulsion you have and get moving." Those systems will destroy you. On the probe's sensors, Zealoth watched as massive structures began to power up. Orbital platforms that had floated dormant for eons suddenly came to life. Weapon ports opened. Energy readings spiked to terrifying levels. The human ship began to move, its engines producing a blue-white glow. But it was too slow, far too slow to escape. "They are not going to make it," one of the officers whispered. The ancient weapons fired. Beams of concentrated energy, the kind that could punch through battlecruiser armor, lanced through space toward the Magellan. Zealoth watched helplessly, waiting for the human ship to be vaporized. But something strange happened. The energy beams struck the Magellan's shields and deflected. Not absorbed, not penetrated, but actually deflected away as if hitting a mirror. The human ship shook from the impact but remained intact. "Impossible," Zealoth breathed. "They are returning fire," an analyst reported with shock. Indeed, the Magellan had turned to face its attackers. Small weapon ports opened along its hull, and bright projectiles launched toward the ancient platforms. The projectiles moved at incredible speeds, and when they struck, they did so with devastating effect. Explosions blossomed across the ancient structures. "What kind of weapons are those?" Zealoth demanded, analyzing. "Commander, they appear to be using kinetic projectiles. Simple metal slugs accelerated to extreme velocities. Kinetic weapons? That is ancient technology. Nobody uses those anymore. The humans apparently do, sir, and they are very effective. Those projectiles are hitting with more force than our standard plasma cannons." The battle continued for several minutes. The ancient defense platforms fired repeatedly, but the human ship's shields held. Meanwhile, the Magellan's kinetic weapons systematically destroyed platform after platform. The humans moved with surprising agility for such a large vessel, dodging some attacks while tanking others. Finally, the last ancient platform went silent, damaged beyond function. "Captain Chen, are you all right?" Zealoth asked. "We are fine, Commander. Minor shield stress, but nothing critical. Those defense systems were quite impressive." "How old did you say they were?" "Millions of years at least. Interesting. We would like to study them if possible. The technology might provide insights into our own defensive development." Zealoth could only stare at the screen. The humans had just survived and defeated weapons that had destroyed countless ships over the millennia. They had done it with technology the Council considered primitive, and now they wanted to study the ancient systems for educational purposes. "Captain Chen," Zealoth said slowly, "I think we need to have a much longer conversation about your species and your capabilities. The Council is going to want to meet you. We would be happy to establish diplomatic relations, Commander, but first we should probably figure out how to get our ship out of this forbidden zone of yours. And maybe you can explain exactly why this area is forbidden? Because aside from those automated defenses which we have now dealt with, it seems relatively safe to us." Relatively safe. The forbidden zone was relatively safe to humans. Zealoth realized that the galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson. Humanity had arrived and nothing would be the same. Within hours, every major species in the Galactic Council knew about the human ship in the Forbidden Zone. Emergency sessions were called. Representatives from a dozen worlds gathered in virtual conference, their holographic forms filling the council chamber. Zealoth stood at the center, presenting his report while the human ship remained stationary in the zone, waiting for instructions. "This is unacceptable," declared Ambassador Corthan, a tall insectoid being representing the Velkari hive. "Unknown species do not simply appear in quarantine zones. They do not survive weapons that have destroyed our finest vessels. This must be investigated thoroughly." "I agree," added Representative Morlax of the Aquarian Collective, her translucent body rippling with concern. "But we must also consider opportunity. If humans possess such advanced shielding and weapons technology, perhaps an alliance would benefit us all. Or threaten us all," Corthan countered. "How do we know they are not a scouting force? Perhaps they entered the zone deliberately, testing our responses." Zealoth raised one of his limbs for attention. "With respect, Ambassador, I have been in communication with Captain Chen for the past several hours. The humans appear genuinely surprised by their location and our reactions to their technology. They keep insisting their systems are basic and standard. Then they are either lying or dangerously ignorant," an elderly Praxian representative said, his gray scales flashing concern colors. "No civilization develops such advanced defenses without understanding their significance. Unless Zelith suggested carefully. Their development path was simply different from ours. We evolved in relatively safe regions of space. We built our technology around energy efficiency and speed. What if humans evolved in a more dangerous environment? He pulled up data on human territory. Look at their home system. Their star produces intense radiation compared to most inhabited systems. Their homeworld sits in what we would consider a hazardous zone. They have no fewer than 5 major asteroid belts in their system, creating constant impact threats, and according to their own records, their species nearly destroyed itself multiple times with primitive nuclear weapons before achieving space flight. The council chamber fell quiet as representatives studied the data. They built their entire civilization under constant threat, Zelith continued. Their technology focused on protection and survival rather than elegance and efficiency. What we consider advanced shielding, they view as basic necessity. What we see as brutal weapons, they see as practical tools. This is disturbing information, Corthan said. A species that weaponizes so readily could be dangerous. Or valuable allies, Morlax argued. Especially now. The representatives shifted uncomfortably. Everyone knew what she meant. The Devourers, someone whispered. Zelith nodded grimly. Yes. For 6 months we have been detecting increased activity from the ancient enemy. The Devourers have been quiet for 5,000 years, but now they stir. Our scouts have reported movement in the dead sectors. If they wake fully, we may face another war like the one that nearly destroyed galactic civilization. The Devourers, the name given to a machine intelligence from before recorded history. An automated war fleet that consumed entire planets for resources. The ancient species had barely managed to shut them down at terrible cost. The Forbidden Zone was one of many areas where Devourer activity had been highest. Places too dangerous to enter because ancient weapons and defenses still operated. You think humans could help against such a threat? Corthan asked skeptically. I think, Zelith said slowly, that humans survived and defeated weapons in the Forbidden Zone that we have never dared to approach. They did so with a research vessel. Imagine what their actual warships might accomplish. Before anyone could respond, urgent alerts flashed across their displays. The monitoring officer appeared on screen, panic in her voice. Commander Zelith, we have a critical situation. Multiple contacts emerging from deep space. They are heading directly toward the Forbidden Zone. What kind of contacts? Unknown configuration, but their energy signatures match historical records. She paused, her voice dropping to a horrified whisper. They match Devourer signatures. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate evacuation protocols. Others called for military mobilization. Order, Zelith shouted. How many contacts? 17 vessels, Commander. All heading for the zone at high speed. They will arrive at the human ship's position in approximately 90 minutes. Zelith's mind raced. 17 Devourer ships. Even one could destroy a dozen council vessels. 17 could threaten an entire sector. We need to warn the humans, he said. Get me Captain Chen immediately. The connection was established quickly. Commander Zelith, Captain Chen's voice came through. We have been monitoring strange sensor readings. Multiple objects approaching our position. Captain, those are Devourer ships. They are ancient war machines of incredible power. You need to leave immediately. Use whatever power you have left in your jump drive, even if it only takes you a short distance. How dangerous are we talking, Commander? Captain, a single Devourer ship destroyed an entire council battle group 200 years ago when we accidentally awakened it. 17 ships, Zelith's voice trailed off. He did not need to finish the sentence. There was a long pause. Then Captain Chen spoke again, her voice calm and steady. Commander, our jump drive needs at least 2 more hours to charge. We cannot run. But I have been consulting with my crew. We have an alternative proposal. Captain, this is not the time for alternatives. You need to escape. With respect, Commander, we cannot escape, so we might as well fight. My tactical officer informs me that these Devourer ships, while powerful, appear to be using technology similar to the defense platforms we destroyed earlier. If we could defeat those systems, we should be able to engage these vessels. Zelith felt his heart skip beats. Captain, you are suggesting fighting 17 Devourer ships with a single research vessel? We prefer to think of it as field testing our defensive systems under extreme conditions, Captain Chen replied. and Zeleth detected something in her voice that took him a moment to identify. Humor. The human was joking. "This is madness," Corthan declared, having listened to the exchange. "Humans are either the bravest species we have ever encountered or the most foolish. Perhaps both," Morlack suggested. "But if they are willing to fight, should we not provide support?" "With what?" Corthan demanded. "Any ship we send will be destroyed before it enters the zone. We would be sending our people to die for nothing." "Then we watch," Zeleth said quietly. "We watch and we learn. And perhaps we discover whether humans are the allies we desperately need, or simply another species the Devourers will consume." On the screens, the countdown timer showed 87 minutes until the Devourers arrived. The Magellan began powering up all systems, preparing for a battle that should have been impossible, and the entire Galactic Council watched, waiting to see if humanity would survive the next hour. The Devourer fleet emerged from the void like nightmares made real. Each vessel was massive, dwarfing the human ship by a factor of 10. Their hulls were black and reflected no light, as if they absorbed everything around them. Ancient weapons, ports lined their surfaces, and their very presence seemed to make space itself feel wrong. In the council chamber, representatives watched through the probe feeds in horrified silence. These were the machines that had nearly ended galactic civilization thousands of years ago. Seeing them active again triggered ancient fears coded into the DNA of every species. "They are powering weapons," an analyst reported, his voice shaking. "Energy readings are off the scale." On the Magellan, Captain Chen stood on her bridge, studying the tactical display. Her crew worked around her with practiced efficiency. Despite being a research vessel, every human ship was built with combat capability. It was simply how humans thought about space travel. 17 bogies confirmed, her tactical officer reported. Mass readings suggest heavy armor and shielding. Weapon signatures indicate directed energy systems, probably plasma-based. "Conventional tactics?" Chen asked. "Unlikely to work, Captain. We are outnumbered and outgunned by every measure." Chen smiled slightly. "Then we use unconventional tactics. What do we know about AI behavior patterns?" "Predictable logic trees. They will likely attempt to surround us and fire from multiple angles to overwhelm our defenses, which means they will spread out. Tactical, I want you to identify the command ship. There is always a primary unit coordinating the others." The officer worked quickly. "Third vessel from the left, Captain. It's broadcasting more signals than the others." "Then that is our target. Helm, as soon as they open fire, I want full burn directly at that command ship. We go straight through their formation." "Captain?" The helmsman sounded uncertain. "Trust me. Weapons. Prepare all kinetic batteries. I want continuous fire. Don't aim for their hulls. Aim for their weapon ports and sensor arrays. Blind them and silence them." "Aye, Captain." Zeleth watched the human ship's movements with growing alarm. "They are going to charge directly at the enemy fleet. That is suicide." "Or brilliant," Morlack said thoughtfully. "The Devourers expect their targets to flee or try to fight at range. By charging directly in, the humans minimize the time they are under fire and create confusion in the enemy formation." The Devourers opened fire. 17 ships unleashed torrents of plasma, turning space around the Magellan into a hell of superheated death. But the human ship was already moving, accelerating at speeds that seemed impossible for its size. The shields blazed as plasma washed over them, but they held. The Magellan wove through the incoming fire like a dancer, using thrusters to make sudden direction changes that no large vessel should be capable of. "How are they maneuvering like that?" someone asked. "Their inertial dampeners must be far more advanced than ours," an analyst replied. "Either that or their crew can handle much higher G-forces than any known species." The Magellan reached the Devourer formation and did the unthinkable. It flew between two of the massive war machines, so close that its shields nearly touched their hulls. As it passed, kinetic rounds poured from its weapons at point-blank range. The effect was devastating. The ancient armor of the Devourers, designed to withstand energy weapons, had no defense against solid metal moving at relativistic speeds. Weapon ports exploded, sensor arrays shattered. One Devourer actually had its main engine housing punctured, causing a cascade failure that left it drifting powerless. Impossible, Corthan whispered. They just crippled a Devourer ship. But the Magellan was not done. It completed its charge, reaching the command vessel. The Devourers tried to track it, but their weapons were too slow. The human ship danced around them, maintaining maximum speed while unleashing continuous fire. Captain Chen watched her tactical display with cold focus. Target their reactor signatures. Make them choose between pursuing us and protecting their power cores. The Devourers began to split their formation, some trying to intercept the Magellan while others attempted to protect the command ship. But this created gaps and confusion. Firing solution acquired on the command vessel, the weapons officer reported. Launching heavy rounds. The Magellan's main railgun fired. The projectile, a solid tungsten rod the size of a small car, crossed the distance in a fraction of a second. It struck the command Devourer's hull with the force of a small nuclear weapon. The ancient machine's shields had been designed to disperse energy. Against solid matter traveling at such speeds, they were useless. The round punched through the hull, through internal systems and out the other side. Secondary explosions erupted across the Devourer's surface. The command ship began to drift, severely damaged. Immediately, the other Devourer vessels faltered. Their coordinated attacks became disorganized. Some froze in place while others began firing randomly. The command ship was controlling the others, Chen realized. Take it out completely. The Magellan made another pass, this time launching a full spread of missiles. They struck the crippled command vessel from multiple angles. The ancient machine broke apart, pieces tumbling through space. Without their coordinator, the remaining Devourer ships behaved like confused animals. They fired at each other. They ran into asteroids. They simply drifted without purpose. All vessels, this is Captain Chen. We have neutralized the command structure. The remaining units are not an immediate threat. Recommend sending council ships to secure them for study. In the council chamber, absolute silence reigned. Representatives stared at the screens, unable to process what they had just witnessed. A single human research vessel had just defeated 17 Devourer war machines, ships that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia, destroyed in less than 30 minutes by a species the council had classified as primitive. How? Corthan finally asked. How is this possible? Zealith studied the tactical recordings. They understood the enemy better than we did. The Devourers relied on energy weapons and coordinated AI tactics. The humans used kinetic weapons that bypassed their defenses and targeted the command structure to create chaos. It was not superior technology. It was superior strategy and willingness to take risks no sane species would consider. They flew between Devourer ships, Morlax pointed out. That requires either incredible courage or complete insanity. For humans, Zealith said slowly, I suspect it might be both. Captain Chen's voice came through the communication system. Commander Zealith, our jump drive has finished recharging. However, before we leave, my science team has detected something in the Forbidden Zone that they would like to investigate. There appear to be additional Devourer installations deeper in the zone, inactive ones. If we are correct about what we are reading, there might be hundreds of dormant units here. The council members looked at each other with growing horror. Captain, Zealith said carefully, are you suggesting there is the entire Devourer fleet hidden in the Forbidden Zone? That would be our assessment, yes. And Commander, based on the energy readings, something is starting to wake them up. We need to act quickly, or your Forbidden Zone is going to become a staging ground for the largest Devourer force in recorded history. Zealith felt the weight of the galaxy settling on his shoulders. What do you recommend? There was a pause. Then Captain Chen spoke words that would echo through galactic history. We recommend you let us humans handle this. After all, we are already here, and we seem to be pretty good at breaking ancient technology. In the council chamber, representatives began to argue, debate, and ultimately realized they had no choice. Humanity had proven itself in combat. Now they would either save the galaxy or doom it. The vote was called. The decision was made. Humans were going hunting in the Forbidden Zone. The Magellan moved deeper into the Forbidden Zone, its sensors probing the darkness for the hidden Devourer installations. Behind it, 3 more human vessels arrived through jump space. These were not research ships. The UHSC Defiant, Relentless, and Indomitable were destroyers lean and deadly, bristling with weapons. Captain Chen had called for backup, and Earth had responded within hours. "This is Captain Rodriguez of the Defiant," a voice announced over fleet communications. "Captain Chen, we have your coordinates. Ready to provide support." "Good to see you, Rodriguez," Chen replied. "We have a situation. Sensors show approximately 200 dormant Devourer units in a hidden facility 3 million kilometers ahead. They are starting to power up. We need to destroy them before they achieve full activation." 200? Rodriguez whistled. "Command is going to want triple hazard pay for this one." "Command can process the paperwork after we save the galaxy," Chen said with a slight smile. "Let us move in and assess the situation." The 4 human ships advanced in formation, their crews ready for combat. Behind them, at a safe distance, Council vessels watched through probes. Every major species had representatives monitoring the operation. What the humans did next would determine the future of galactic politics. The hidden facility came into view. It was enormous, a construct the size of a small moon, built into an asteroid field. Docking bays covered its surface, each one large enough to house a Devourer warship. Lights were beginning to flicker on across the structure. The ancient machines were waking up. "Analysis shows the facility has been here for at least 10,000 years, the Magellan science officer reported. It was probably a staging ground during the original Devourer War. When the ancients drove them back, this facility was damaged and went dormant. Something has triggered its reactivation sequence." "What could trigger something after 10,000 years?" Shen asked. "Unknown, Captain. But whatever it is, we are running out of time. Power generation is increasing exponentially. Full activation in approximately 4 hours. Then we have 4 hours to destroy it," Captain Rodriguez said grimly. "Recommendations?" Chen studied the tactical display.
"The facility is too large to destroy with conventional weapons."
"But look at these power distribution nodes. If we take them out, the whole system should cascade fail. Those nodes are deep inside the structure. We would need to board the facility. Then we board it. Marines, prepare for deployment." In the council chamber, Ambassador Corthan stood abruptly. "They cannot be serious. Boarding a Devourer facility? No species has ever attempted such madness and survived." Zelith said nothing, just watched the screens. The human ships approached the facility, their shields deflecting automated defense fire. Transport craft launched from their docking bays, carrying teams of armored Marines toward breached sections of the ancient structure. The Marines moved with a combination of caution and confidence that surprised the watching aliens. They advanced through corridors that had been dark for millennia, their weapons ready, their movements coordinated. "This is Marine Team Alpha," a voice reported. "We have entered the facility. No hostile contact yet. Place is like a tomb. Stay alert," Chen warned. "Dormant does not mean safe." The Marines pushed deeper. They reached the first power node, a massive chamber filled with ancient technology. Engineers moved forward with explosive charges. "Setting charges now," an engineer reported. "This should disrupt power to approximately 30% of the facility. Work fast. We have multiple teams operating simultaneously. All charges need to detonate together." Similar reports came in from other teams. Beta Team reached their node. Charlie Team encountered resistance from automated defenses but overcame them. Delta Team found something unexpected. "Captain, this is Delta Team Leader. You need to see this." Video feed appeared on Chen's display. The Marines were standing in a chamber unlike the others. At its center was a crystalline structure pulsing with energy. "What is that?" Chen asked. "Unknown, Captain. But it is generating the signal that is waking up the facility. I think this might be a Devourer command intelligence. A core AI that controls all the others." Chen felt her pulse quicken. "Can you destroy it?" "We can try. But Captain, if we destroy this, we might be destroying the key to understanding the Devourer threat entirely. This could be the only intact command intelligence in existence." It was a critical decision. Destroy the intelligence and eliminate the threat, or capture it and risk everything to learn its secrets. "Captain," Zelith's voice came through on priority channel. "The Council is listening. We know the strategic value of such a prize. But we also know the risk. The decision is yours." Chen closed her eyes for a moment, thinking. Then she opened them with resolve. "Delta Team, plant your charges but do not detonate yet. Engineers, can you construct a containment field around that crystal?" "It will take time, Captain." and we would need to shut down its connection to the facility without triggering defensive protocols. Then that is what we do. All teams, change of mission. We are capturing the command intelligence. Adjust your charges to isolate that chamber from the rest of the facility. The Marines worked with focused intensity. Charges were repositioned. Containment equipment was brought in from the ships. The engineers worked miracles of improvisation, building a cage around the ancient AI using human technology and spare parts. Containment ready, the engineer finally reported. Activating field now. The crystal pulsed angrily, trying to maintain its connection to the facility. But the human containment field held. Slowly, carefully, the Marines disconnected it from the ancient systems. We have it, Delta team leader reported. The intelligence is secured. All teams evacuate immediately, Chen ordered. Detonate all charges in 60 seconds, the Marines ran. They carried their prize through ancient corridors while behind them, countdown timers reached 0. Explosions rippled through the facility. Power nodes overloaded. Systems that had functioned for 10,000 years finally failed catastrophically. The Marines reached their transports just as the facility began to tear itself apart. The transport craft raced back to their ships while behind them. The Devourer stronghold collapsed into fragments. The human fleet withdrew to a safe distance and watched as the facility destroyed itself completely. 200 Devourer warships, neutralized before they could wake. The threat eliminated. But more importantly, the command intelligence sat in a containment cell aboard the Magellan, ready to be studied. In the council chamber, silence gave way to amazed conversation. They did it, Morlack said in wonder. Not only did they destroy the facility, but they captured the command intelligence. Do you understand what this means? We can finally learn how the Devourers think, how to predict them, how to defeat them completely. It means, Corthan said slowly, his earlier hostility gone, that humans just became the most strategically important species in the galaxy. They can survive in zones we cannot enter. They can fight enemies we cannot defeat. And they can make decisions under pressure that we would spend months debating. Zelith contacted the Magellan. Captain Chen, the Galactic Council would like to extend formal thanks and an invitation to Earth. We believe it is time for humanity to take its place in the galactic community. We have much to learn from each other. Captain Chen appeared on screen, her face tired but satisfied. We appreciate that, Commander. Though I have to say, for a forbidden zone, this place is not so bad once you get used to it. We have learned a lot in the past day. About the galaxy, about ancient threats, and about how much room there is for different approaches to problems. Your approach certainly differs from ours, Zalith said, with what might have been a smile, but it appears to be effective. Commander, before we begin any formal negotiations, my crew has a request. This forbidden zone is full of ancient technology and mysteries. With your permission, we would like to establish a research station here, study the area, maybe clean up some of the more dangerous elements, make it safe for everyone. You want to colonize the forbidden zone? Not colonize, explore, that is what we do best. Go where others cannot or will not. Figure things out. Make the impossible possible. Zelith looked around the council chamber. Representatives from dozens of species nodded their approval. Some with enthusiasm, others with resignation, all with respect. Permission granted, Captain. The forbidden zone is now open to humanity, though I suspect we will need to come up with a new name for it. How about the human research zone? Chen suggested with a grin. How about we just call it the zone? Zelith countered. Because after today, nothing is forbidden anymore. Humans have proven that the impossible is just another challenge to overcome. The transmission ended. The human ships remained in the zone, already beginning their survey operations. The council fleet withdrew, carrying news that would spread across the galaxy within days. A new species had arrived, one that appeared overnight, in a place they should not survive, doing things that should be impossible. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not with grand declarations or diplomatic posturing, but by simply being themselves. Bold, innovative, a little crazy, and absolutely unwilling to accept that something could not be done. The Forbidden Zone, that place of death and ancient terror, would become a symbol of human potential. A reminder that every limitation could be challenged, every danger could be faced, and every mystery could be solved with enough courage and creativity. And in command centers across the galaxy, military analysts began updating their threat assessments. But this time, They moved humanity from the primitive species category to a new category they had to create. The category was simply labeled human with a note attached. Approach with respect, alliance recommended, underestimation inadvisable. Because humanity had arrived overnight from nowhere, appearing in a forbidden place, and in doing so had changed the galaxy forever,